Right, okay, I'm not going to pretend this one doesn't frustrate because it bloody does. United draw 1-1 at Wolves Old Trafford, and the result itself is disappointing, but the decision making around it leaves you questioning absolutely everything. We've seen in recent matches that going with a back four gives us something. More balance, better spacing, clearer roles in possession. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot, but there's moments where you looked at it and you thought this is a step forward. We're going somewhere here. So to come straight back to the 3-4-3 last night, it was unnecessary, especially when you factor in the fact that it was almost the exact same squad that played against Newcastle. And in that first half against Newcastle, playing 4 at the back, we dominated with half a team missing. And then in the second half against Newcastle, went back to a back 5 and lost control. And this match started with a back 5, never had control. Yeah, we took a lead, Zirkzee scored. That's where we should have picked it up and controlled the game, but it never happened. Wolves are struggling, Old Trafford behind you. This is exactly where we should have just won that game from that moment, but instead we let it drift. We don't kill it, Wolves stay in it, and right before half time, a corner comes in, second ball drops right onto someone's head, and it was a good header to be fair, right into the corner. Second half, it's familiar, plenty of possession, not enough incision. A late moment of drama with Dorgu scores, we think, we hope, fingers crossed. Obviously VAR stepped in to ruin it. And Amorim afterwards talks about imagination, quality, having no excuses. And you've got to respect the honesty, but why did he go back to a fucking back 5 when you've got no creative players in the team? You done well against Newcastle in the first half, going back to that system. It's just doesn't make any sense at all. Not even one little bit. But anyway, player ratings coming up. Can you tell I'm frustrated? Can you tell I'm pissed off? It's not going to be good. It's going to be pretty fucking bad. But here we go. So we're going to start with a goalkeeper. San Lamens is probably United's most reliable player on the night, and he was fucking used a lot more than he should have been. But he dealt calmly with what Wales threw at him, made important saves, and didn't contribute to the chaos that crept in from United side. There was nothing spectacular, but there was control, made a few good saves. His passing was more accurate than it was against Newcastle. All in, pretty good display from a goalkeeper. 7 out of 10. Now for Aiden Heaven, and once again he was our best defender. He was proactive, he stepped in well, and he critically won the ball high up the pitch, but led to United's first goal, only goal. He looked composed for large parts, he didn't shy away from responsibility. He's looking like every bit the Man United player. It's only been a few games, but he's been Man United's best defender for the last 4 or 5 games. So it's a 7 out of 10 for Haven. Now for Luke Shaw, and he actually had plenty of the ball and he took responsibility from set pieces. And he had one that almost crept under the crossbar, one of his corners, without any real payoff. He had a lot of passes, a lot of the ball, 3 key passes actually, but nothing really that gave us any real shots at target or anything like that. There was loads of pressure for him, loads of the ball, just didn't really do much with it in the final third. 10 crosses, only 3 of them accurate. Wolves were largely comfortable dealing with him, but he was getting on the ball when he was trying. Defensively solid, creatively limited, and that's typical for Shaw. But he did have a lot of the ball, he was trying, so I'm giving him a 6.5 out of 10. Now for Martinez, and he brought his usual aggression, his leadership. This wasn't one of his stronger nights. Wolves equalised from a corner, it was exposed with United's organisation, and he was part of it. A defensive unit that didn't really manage the moment well. You could see the frustration, but it wasn't just him it was frustrated, it was everybody, the whole fucking ground was frustrated. 6 out of 10 for Martinez. Diego Dalot, he was defensively steady, going forward his influence was limited. It was a system that relies heavily on width and delivery, and Dalot didn't provide enough of either. His penetration wasn't there, the quality it wasn't there in the final third, but it wasn't a liability. In defence he was fine. He didn't do much, he didn't stretch Wolves, he didn't give in to think about. Wolves found him easy to deal with. It's a 6 out of 10 for Dalot. Now for Patrick Dorgu, and he was one of the few players who tried to inject some urgency. He got into dangerous positions, he had 2 key passes, and he wasn't afraid to attack the space. He thought he won the game late on with a VAR ruled out the goal, but he had 2 shots, 2 key passes, plenty of duels, won quite a lot of them. He's always doing the exact same thing, he tries, he works, leaves everything on the pitch. He's so willing to work hard. Lacks quality sometimes, but the last couple of games, and in this game, why he wasn't playing in a forward position again after the game against Newcastle, where he was fucking amazing. But even in this game, one of the better players. 6.5 out of 10. And now for his partner, Ugarte. He was energetic, he was involved, but influence faded as the match went on, the exact same as Casemiro. He got forward sometimes and even tested the goalkeeper, but United's midfield, it just lacks rhythm, lacks progression, lacks creative intent. They can run about and they can try and disrupt play, but that is it. We need somebody that can pass the ball in there. We need Manu back. We need Bruno back. We need to be brave and actually start playing Manu and Bruno further forward. A 6 out of 10 for Ugarte. Now for Casemiro in the centre of the pitch, and he provided experience, positional discipline, everything he always does, but United never really controlled the midfield. We're never really going to control midfields when we've got this guy. I mean, he's a good player, but he's not going to control midfields anymore. He protected the defence reasonably well. The game often felt stretched, and as the game came on, you seen him trying to run about, and the guy was knackered. He left everything on the pitch, but it just never really worked for him. If you don't control the midfield, why are you even there? Him and Ugarte they're okay, but they don't do anything. Not bad, but not great. A 6 out of 10 for Casemiro. Now for Matty Cunha, and I thought this was a match for him to stamp his authority, to be that creative outlet, but it just never worked at all. Probably down to the system. But he worked hard, he got involved, he tried, but the final product, it wasn't there. Nothing at all. 2 shots. He didn't consistently unlock Wolves, he was running at them a lot, he was getting pushed off the ball a wee bit. United lacked imagination in the final third, and he was part of that. Something that Amorim clearly acknowledged after the game. Effort was visible, but there was no quality. 5.5 out of 10 for Cunha. Now for Big Zirkzee, and this one I didn't have in my team in the preview. I actually thought he would have went with Lacey, because Zirkzee's apparently going to Roma. And he scored the goal, and he done okay. He wasn't an absolute shit show like he usually is. There's a player in here, but I don't think there's a player for the Premier League. He needs too much time on the ball. He's not quick enough. But it was a brilliant little drag back in the box onto his left foot. He struck it well, but a big deflection right into the net. And you need a bit of luck sometimes. The boy tries, but I just don't think he's geared up for the Premier League. A move to Roma would do him fantastically. And as long as we get someone in, we're going to let him go. That's the way it sounds like anyway. But for this match, I'm going to give Zirkzee a 6 out of 10. He got took off at half time, I'm not really sure why. Apparently it was to shore up the midfield, but he came off, nothing happened in the second half. So maybe that's another bad managerial decision, but 6 out of 10 for Zirkzee. Okay, now for a striker, Big Ben Sesko, and what was it, 6 shots, 4 on target, smacked the woodwork with 1. So he had moments where he looked threatening, including an effort that came extremely close, but couldn't find a breakthrough. His physical presence caused problems, yet Wolves were pretty comfortable with him for most of the game. But I liked his performance. What I want from him, he's 6'5", he's a big boy, he's young, he's fast, he's strong. He needs to channel his inner fucking Duncan Ferguson. He needs to be angry. He needs to be throwing people all over the place. He needs to watch people like Ferguson, like Zlatan, these big giant guys that just used their size and used their absolute brute strength. And he needs to start doing it. I know he's a young boy, he's 22, but come on, 6'5", use it, use every fucking inch of it. But for me, Sesko done well, a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, so when you put it all together, was it a total collapse? I think so. Was it good enough? Was it fuck? There was solid performances from a couple of players. They done their jobs okay. A couple showed intent, but across the pitch, there was too many sixes. Too many performances that were below par, without anyone really dragging the team forward. And that's where the frustration sits. Because once we scored, this was a game United should have controlled, especially at home, especially against the worst Premier League team ever. And that's not just an opinion, that's fact. Wolves are the worst team that's ever been in the Premier League. But anyway, context matters. We're missing important players, creative players and defensive players. That absolutely limits what you can do in possession. Can't ignore that. But what you also can't ignore is managerial decisions. Going back to a system that relies so heavily on patterns and precision, it was always going to make life harder. Recent games with a back four, it wasn't perfect, but there was balance and there was intent. And there was a threat going forward, there was clarity. This one finishes feeling like a missed opportunity. Not because Wolves didn't deserve the point, because they absolutely did. Because United never really imposed themselves on a game that was there to be won. My preview, I predicted 4-0. How fucking wrong was that? But anyway, next up, it's Leeds. It's away, and Leeds are not going to be easy. They're going to be up for it. They love absolutely beating Man United. It's going to be a completely different challenge. There's going to be intensity and atmosphere, pressure. the Leeds crowd are going to be all over us. It's a big question whether United can stick to it or finally set up a system that works. Will Amorim stick with a back three, or will he absolutely try and fucking move forward with a back four? And anyway, we'll find out.